Hi, I'm Gregory Paolini, and in this episode of Table Saw Techniques, I'm going to show you how to make a perfectly fitting tenon using your SawStop table saw. So stick around. Nothing says strength in a piece of furniture like a mortise and tenon joint. The joint's thousands of years old and it can be cut all sorts of different ways. But one of the easiest and simplest ways to cut it is using your SawStop table saw. I'm going to show you how to quickly and simply make some tenons using your SawStop and just a miter gauge. I've already got my mortise cut, and this one I just happen to cut with a router. I'm going to start by defining the shoulders of the tenon. And in this case, the shoulders are going to be 1/4 of an inch deep all the way around. There we go. Next, I need to establish the length of the tenon. And for consistency, I'm going to use the rip fence to do this. But I'm not going to use the rip fence on its own. I never want to use the rip fence as a stop while I'm using the miter gauge. It can cause a binding situation. So I'm going to intentionally put a little bit of space in between my workpiece and the fence. And I'll do that by simply clamping a block onto the fence. There we go. Now my desired tenon length is going to be 3/4 of an inch. And the block of wood that I just put on is 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 plus 3/4 is 1.5. But I need to subtract the thickness or the kerf of the blade I'm using, which is 1/8 inch. And I can double check my work by simply putting a tick mark on my workpiece at 3/4 of an inch, butting against the stop block, and then moving forward to the blade. And the tick mark should line up on the outside of the blade. Now the saw is completely set up to make the cut. Now all I have to do is put on some safety equipment. I'm going to wear safety glasses and some hearing protection. I'm using the stop block to position the workpiece. I press the workpiece firmly against it and I make a cut. Then I rotate the workpiece, butt up against the stop block again, and make another cut. And then I just repeat the process for all 4 sides. Now with the shoulders of the tenon clearly defined, I'm just going to go ahead and nibble away the waist to form the cheeks of the tenon. I'll just slide the rip fence out of the way. The shoulders of the tenon have already been defined. Now I'm just nibbling away material. I don't need the rip fence anymore. If you wanted to remove material a little faster, you could always swap out for a dado blade for this part of the process. But again, for this video, we're just keeping it really simple. A well-fit tenon should go together with moderate hand pressure, but it should hold together on its own. And that's how simple it is to make a perfectly fitting tenon solely on your SawStop table saw. Join me again for another episode of Table Saw Techniques.